Welcome to manage your setting in a secure way using Azure App Configuration, or manage your settings using Azure App Configuration, since you always should do things in a secure way. This session is mostly about Azure App Configuration and what it can do for you. My name is Cecilia Wire. I'm a consultant at a company in Sweden called Active Solution, and I'm MVP and yada yada. You can reach me on Twitter using Cecilia Sharp. You have my email, and please reach out on the Slack for this conference for questions. So, configurations. That's nothing new, right? We've been needing configuration for a while, just to be able to not needing to recompile our application anytime we want to change anything. When it's changing environment or just the settings, our configuration is helping us to do that. And when I started to coding like 20 years ago, the configuration file back then was called ini file. The ini file consists of a key value pair, and it's a text-based file. And that's it. And that's pretty much what we mostly have today. We still have key value pairs, sometimes more structured than just a file. Sometimes it's not a file, but still key value pairs. In this in file, the secret was stated as is, plain text. This was a long time ago, so the security awareness wasn't too high. Unfortunately, we see that still today, that we have plain secrets in text in our configuration. But besides for that, I would say today, one of the biggest issues with just configuration is the configuration matrix. You have different environments, and for different environments, you want different configurations. You may have multiple instances in the same environment, depending on maybe different for different customers or so on. And the matrix for all these different settings are big. And you also may share different settings between applications. So you have duplicated configurations as well in different files or different places, depending what system you're using. So to solve that, we have app configuration. App configuration is a service in Azure. It has two different tiers. It has a free tier and a standard tier. If you are using the free tier, you are a little bit limited. You can only have one instance of app configuration. You can't use private endpoints. You are a little bit limited on how many calls you can do to it. And your version history is only 7 days long, and in the standard is 30 days long. But you will come a long way just to using the free tier as well to be started. So let's jump into the portal and look at. Let's see here. So here we have the app configuration. I have only just created this like 20 minutes ago, so it's empty. And there are two different ways of communicating to app configuration. You can use role-based access, or you can use access key. And we're going to go both. We're going to start with access key. And when we're using access key, we want to make sure we're using the right one, depending on if your application only going to read the configuration, or it's also going to update the configuration. Most applications you have are truly should only read, but you may have code that you want to support editing. So make sure to choose read-only if your app is only read-only for config. And you can get your endpoint, your ID, and your secret here and store it safely. I'm going to pick the connection string here. The connection string contains both the endpoint, the ID, and secret as a long connection string. Yeah. So I copied that for later, and we return to. Let's see. Here. So for this presentation, I have done a demo application. I'm not doing a .NET New application, because most of you have an application currently, and you want to know how to maybe move to this service. So I'm set up application, a very simple one, but I hope it will reflect a current application, and then we're going to walk through moving that one to app configuration, and you'll use all the different features that has. And it's an ASP.NET Core 3.1 application. I tried to do a little bit all one so we can to make a real case. So the demo application is basically a page containing one message, one note, and that's it. But it uses a setting JSON file, and from that file it reads the note message, and it also have the style of the page. So the background color, the font color, and the font size is configurable through the settings JSON file. It also has a connection to Azure KeyVault, and there we are storing the message, the first message line of message on this page. So that's how the page looks today. And we're gonna add app configuration into the mix and move all the settings from the JSON file into the Azure App Configuration. We're gonna move that application reads from the Azure configuration. We're also gonna move the reading of the message to the Azure App Configuration. But since it's a secret, we're gonna still store it in Azure KeyVault. So that's basically what we're gonna do. We're also gonna do is looking at how to manage settings in different environments using Azure configuration, as well as feature toggling. That's also a feature in Azure App Configuration. So let's see this in code, what we have. So as I said to you, we have an app setting JSON file with a style, background color, font color, size, and the note. We have the model that are reading this. It reads up. It's using the I configuration, so it injects the I configuration object. It's gonna read a note here, and also kind of a lot of code just to get the message from the KeyVault as well. And then we have the front end that utilize the style settings as well. So that's basically it. Let's try to see that it's actually starting and running before we try to screw it up. Yeah. So the secret message for today is hello NDC Oslo. And this is Cecilia Sharp was found in the config file. So let's stop that. So now we're going to add, tell the application to get configuration from Azure App Configuration as well. So then that we do that in the builder, a little bit dependent on what version of core you're using. This can be a different name, but you do it in the same way. So here we're adding use Azure, no, sorry, configure. So let's configure the app configuration. No, sorry, I'm going to use config here. It's a bit confusing. And config.add Azure App Configuration. And here it needs a connection string. And as good as that, I copied one before, so I'm just pasting it here. Let's just add, sorry. Was that correctly? Yes, it should be. So now all the secrets is here. This is not the way to do it. you should, if you are using this, you should store the secrets in a secret place. This is allowed to do if you are doing testing and demoing, and the resource you're connecting to is just temporary and going to be removed. So we're going to switch to that one, but we do this now just to make sure it works. So now we have connected to the app configuration. Now we're going to move our configuration into that as well. So here we have the configuration file. Let's copy the path. Go to the portal and the app configuration. Then we actually have a possibility of import and export function here. So we could import from a file that we're going to do now, but we could also import from another app configuration. If we have a complex environment and we want to have several app configuration, we can import between them. We can also import from app services, and that's the configuration you do on an app service. You can have a lot of config there as well. So if you are moving, you can use this import functionality to just batch move everything. So now let's use config file, specify it's a .NET application, JSON file for this, but it could be a different type of file as well. Let's see there. We want to use the colon separator. If we want to, we can add a prefix here. If we have several applications, we maybe want to use prefix to keep them apart or something. And what labels means, I'm going to tell you later on. So now it's imported. Let's go to the Configuration Explorer. Here we see all our different values that we have here. We can see the actual value as well. So it's the same settings that we had before, but now they are here. We can go back to the application and remove all the settings. So now there's no way to make it blue and the rate message unless we have connection to the app configuration. So just try it again. And it still works. So now we are getting things from, like this is Cecilia Sharp, directly from app configuration as well. That's good. But as I said, having the connection string directly in here, not a good point. So we are going to move over to using managed entity instead. That's the best way if you have everything inside of Azure and in the same subscription. If you aren't in the same subscription, or if you're not, your application don't live in Azure as well, you can use the endpoint, but you have to take care of your secrets as well. So, as I said, we had two ways that were access key or role-based. So under access control, we have role assignment, and I actually prepared a little bit. So we will see that I already added 4 identities here under the important thing. Let's see, let's just zoom here. Right? No? So the role that we want to use is app configuration data reader. If we want to write as well, we have an app configuration data writer. So to that role, we need to add the identities that we want to read inside the configuration. And for that, it's actually 2 apps. We're going to show you different environments. And I added myself as well, so I can run it locally and show you without having to deploy every time. So this is an app service that have managed identity enabled. That's, if you haven't enabled that before, it's just an easy switch on the settings. And then you can select it when you're adding a role here. So this will just work since I already adding it here. Let's see, minus here. So now I only need the endpoint, like this address. I don't need the credentials at all, only the endpoint. So I'm copying that, going back to my application, and I want to do it a little bit better, so I'm going to add it as a setting in the app setting JSON file. I just removed everything in the app settings file. I told the application to read settings from other place. But it will still read app.set.json. So it will be layering, it will read app.set.json, and then it will read the app configuration service as well. So I need to put the connections somewhere, and this could be a good place. So connection strings, let's call it Azure App Configuration, and adding it, whoops, here. So, and then we're coming back here. We're going to remove all of this. That. And then we're going to open this one up with more complicated thing. No. So, and let's just say that we need to, so now we need to get the settings first. So, and that we can do maybe here. So let's say setting, config, build. So we'll let it build the configuration that far, and this far it actually have read the app.set.json file. And we have the connection, settings, get connection string, and we need the one that we called, let's do this to be safe. So here. So now we have the connection. And the second one we need now is to kind of identify yourself. So we need a credential object as well. Yeah. Credentials. And we're going to do that by using default Azure credential. Yeah, that's the one. So this one, I could use managed identity credential here, but since I want to do it local as well, the default going to use my credentials when I'm doing locally. It's going to use managed identity when it's deployed. So that's why I'm using this one. So let's now connect to the Azure App Configuration. And we use the connect function, a new URI with connection. Let's see, and adding the credential. So now it's gonna connect in the same way before, and it's gonna use the credentials of my managed identity or my personal account in this case. So just see that it runs locally. And if this doesn't work, we are not going to get a color on the text. We're going to get a background color, and we're not going to get a note message as well. So it will be kind of boring. So it still works. I'm going to publish that because I want to show you some stuff later on. So I'm just using a simple web deploy here. And while that is moving, let's go here. So we have this code that's catching basically settings from the KeyVault, but they are secret settings. And this kind of code is kind of boring to have in your application, so I think we should just remove it. So, bye-bye. And then I'm going to say that I want to read from the configuration object instead. Like this. But we really don't have that configuration somewhere in configuration. So we need to fix that as well. So we go to, there I come. We're going back to app configuration, and we have this configuration explorer. So here we can create the keys manually. We can create the value keys before. So instead of importing things, we can manually create them here. But I want to create a key value reference. And I want to call it a message. And then I want to use the KeyVault that I have before. And in that KeyVault, I have a secret called message, and apply. So now I have mapped it into app configuration. App configuration actually don't really have permission to read it, so it will just put an URI here to the KeyVault. And we will not give it permission to do that anyway. So the application is kind of asking app configuration for settings, and it will get this URL, and then the application know that, okay, I need to go to the KeyVault to get this. And then the application going to go to the KeyVault and figure out the value here. So the application still needs to have access to the KeyVault. So this is not a shortcut or anything. So in the same way that you're reading directly from the KeyVault, you need access to the KeyVault here as well. And we need to do that in our configuration as well. So we need to specify what credentials to use when using the KeyVault through the app configuration. So let's say option and configure KeyVault here. Yeah, right way. And set credentials, and we're going to use the same credentials here because our KeyVault already have managed identity access put on. So for KeyVault, we actually have two options. You can still use role-based access as the same way that we did with app configuration, but we can also use access policies. And in this case, we have access policies. So here we're going to see that both our services that we're going to deploy to have permission to list and get secrets, as well as myself have much more possibility to do things here. So that will just work. If we didn't have that there, we have to add it, of course. Yes. So I just try to run it again. So, and the secret message is still read, but we don't have an actual own code. Our own code of reading for the KeyVault is gone now. So, that's good. Now it's kind of similar to what we had before. We haven't added too much of a value yet. But if you take something like, we have the app running now, and we go to our app configuration, and we change something. Let's say that we change the background to black and apply. And then if we go back to the application and try to reload it or something, it will not change. But if we stop it and start it again, it hopefully will be black now. Please, come on. Yeah, and this is because we are reading this like in startup, and we are reading all the settings at startup, and this is what you may be used to as well. But we could configure it to refresh itself. So when you change stuff will be updated without having to restart the application. So to do that, we need to do another option. So let's do this. So option dot configure refresh. Sounds like a good run, right? And let's do refresh option. This. That. Yes, so. And for refresh option, we're going to say register. So we register against settings. And in this case, I was thinking we just take style and background color. I'm going to see, just in case. Let's take it here. It was correct. So we are telling it to look at the background color, and if the background color is changed, refresh it. This is done with caching, so it's 30 minutes before do it, and for 30 seconds. And since it's a demo, I want to turn it down to make it less, wait less. So we set cache expiration to time span from seconds, and let's say 3 seconds. I would say, let's see, let's do that new row, something like that. That's not something you want to do in real life. Actually, you may want to increase it because if you are kind of using the free tier, you have the limitation of call to the service. And even if you don't do that, you have, if you're using standard tier, you have a limit of free calls, then you have to pay for the calls as well. So you may want to think about how often, if I change, in this case, if I change the style, how often do I want it to go and refresh and see if it's changed. Maybe an hour is okay, or maybe it's half an hour or a day or something. So with this, we should be able to, no, sorry, I'm forgetting one thing. So this is just hooking up to do it. Then we want to tell it to refresh. So the cache is just there to not do the check every time you tell it to refresh. It's not automatically going to do it. But there are 2 ways to call a refresh. One, if you have a middle tier that you have here. But if we didn't have a middle tier, we'd go for getting an object called a refresher. And on that, you should call try refresh async. So with that, so you need to store that refresher somewhere that you can reach it otherwhere. And then you are going to try refresh. And if the cache have expired, it's going to go and read it. But we're going to use the middle tier here. So we're going to do the startup. And then we're going to add here, add Azure App Configuration. We'll tell it that we're going to use Azure App Configuration. And as well that we're going to say use Azure App Configuration. Like so. So now the middle tier are going to do this refreshing magic for us, and we don't have to care about it. And let's just try it. So now we have black background from settings when it's starting. Yep. And then we go to the configuration, and we're going to change it again. I'm going to change it back to white. We do apply. We go here. And since it's a page, we need to reload it anyway. If we hadn't, we could write code, of course. So now I just refresh it, and it got a new setting. But this is kind of annoying to do, maybe, just to register or every kind of settings that I think can be updated. So the better way to do it is to register new settings that are like a signal that everything should be refreshed. So we change to a property that we'll call version. And then I need to tell it that when this change, refresh everything. So now I can, so now I can change my settings, but not until I change my version setting is going to be a call to the refreshing functionality in the applications. So I need to add that one. So new key value, style, version. let's call it just 1, and apply. So now we have that in place. We're going to run the application again. So, and then we go, oh, wrong place. I'm going to go here. And let's change, once again, black. Maybe like the font color. Let's go pink. And if we go back to the application, refresh it, and wait for a couple of seconds, it will not change. We go back here, and we change the version number, say 2, set apply, go back to application, and it changed. So that's the way to do it, that you hook up to something that's signaling that is a new version of the settings. So this is the one. I'm going to publish it for the next step, and we're going to jump over and look at the slide before while we wait. So to be able to do this, you need a package, a new good package as usually. The one I used here is called App Configuration ASP.NET Core, but there are packages for all kinds of applications, including Java, Python. There is an NPM package. You can use as well the API directly if you like to. So you basically can use this everywhere as long as you have an internet connection and connection to the Azure portal as well. Yeah. So I'm going to leave that running. We are done with refreshing. So now let's move over to the thing about different environments. So this application is deployed to one environment, and I have another one called 2. So if we go into the Configuration Explorer, we can here add another version of, let's say, font color. So let's go and say add value. This time you say we have black. And now we're going to use the label. So with the label, we can distinguish different kind of settings with the same name. So let's call this demo2 as like environment name or something. And we think apply. Then we're going to see here that we have, let's see, inside of like the font style, font color, we have 2 values, sorry. One with no label, and one with the demo2 label. And we could add several labels here as well, so we can have like a long list of different labels, and you still have style, font color, and all the different colors as well. So let's see, if we have black there, that will not be good. We need to do the same thing with background color, I think. So, no, not adding, add. So if we want a black, then we do white, I think. It's going to be, otherwise it will be unreadable. So now how 2 different settings for demo2. So what do we need to do in the code? We need to go and add another option. And first of all, option.select. And we are doing select star. So here you could add, if you had a prefix on your settings, you can add this here. So you have your like application name or something. Now it's going to select every settings that are labelless. I also want to select the one, everything, but with the label of demo2. Wait, sorry. So first, everything without label, and then it's gonna get demo2 and override the things that are the same, of course. this is not good code, since if I'm going to deploy this, it's always going to get demo 2. So I want to move this one for settings as well. So settings, and I call it like env for environment. So now we need to set that settings. I could set it in app.set.json, that is still read. Or I could go into the app service that I'm going to deploy to, the number 2 environment, and add it as a configuration directly on that. For that one, also going to be reading. So let's set a new application settings, call it environment, or env, sorry, and call it demo 2. It's okay. Save. So now it's there. So was there something else I'm going to show you before? No. So now let's deploy that one to the other environment. So here's the old one. The new one should be white with black text, if this is working. Yep. So just trying to make some fun. Let's change the font size to 42. And then let's change the, let's say, the font color of here as well. Let's do that orange. No, sorry, orange. Yeah. And let's increase the version number so it will auto-refresh. And then we can see, so here we should still have the same settings, but we should have a bigger hello and a C. Yeah, slightly, but hardly see. Sorry, let's see. So it gets orange. You can see if it didn't get any bigger. Font size. Let's do smaller instead, like 12. And then do version there. 4. Apply. Let's see. Closed it. Sorry. Let's see. It's number 2. So, the font is not. Maybe something wrong in the code that I'm not actually mapping the size. But as you see, you can have different settings and still use the refreshing and all this magic stuff as well. So that's kind of cool. And now I'm going to show you the last feature. And for that one, I need, once again, a NuGet package. This one is called Featured Management. And for this case, ASP.NET Core. This is a package that you can use without Azure App Configuration as well. It has a lot of great feature for feature management. So it had feature toggling, of course. But it also have the possibility to say that you want to have a certain percentage of the users using the feature on and the feature off, or if one is using a certain kind of browser, or if they are in a certain group, like a testing group or something. So it's much more than just feature toggling. And if you are having this kind of issue that you want to solve, look into that framework as well. But I'm going to show how it uses feature toggling together with app configuration for this one. So let's go back to the code. Where is it? There. So let's go into Portal. So here we have, just underneath the configuration explorer, we have Feature Manager. So I'm going to add a feature toggle that I'm going to call Show Labels. And I'm going to turn it on as default. And this is also support for labels, so you can have from different environments or how you set it up as well. Apply. So that's what we need to do here. Then we need to go to our options and tell it that we're going to use this feature. Configure. No, we're going to use. Sorry. Use feature flag. It's a name, of course. So and that's mostly what we have to do, but we also have caching here as well. So default caching, 30 seconds. I'm going to change it for DIM purposes. You should consider what's good for you as well. There. So that's good. Let's see. Let's do something. No, let's do this. Something like that. So you see. So we have tell it to use feature flag. We also need to add it in the middleware. So we go to here and say services, add feature, no, Nagement, right? Yep. So now that will work. We have it set it up. Now we should use it as well. So I'm going to my model, and my thought is that it's going to show you a label before the message instead. So we need to get hold of the configuration, and we do that by injecting the I feature manager. I hope. Yep. So let's go to feature, add it as a field there, and then here we're gonna say show labels, and then we have the feature. Oh, sorry, we're gonna do it asynchronously. So await feature, and then the function we're gonna have is enable async, and the name of the settings in the portal, and then I'm going to use it. I'm going to use a simple if statement. Say if you want to show labels, then just add a note, and then do let's see, something like this, and do the same thing here. Message dot, and do. So if this is turned on, show label like a label before. Otherwise, just show the message. So that is what we're going to do. So now it's turned on by default. So just start it, and it should show the labels. Yeah, so now we have this message and note before the actual message and note. And if we go to the portal and we turn it off, I think we can do it there as well. Yep, now it's off. And then we go back here and we press refresh, not restart. And in a couple of seconds, it's gone as well. So that's how we can use the feature management in here as well. So that's pretty much what I want to show you. There is a couple of more features. You have the possibility to compare settings here as well. If you want to easily compare something from one label and another label, or a specific date and so on. You have the possibility to export as well. You have the possibility of looking at previous versions of settings. Where? Empty. So when we had the background color that we was changed a lot of time. We have a history, and we can see what it has been before. So it's kind of robust and have a lot of different features that we need. So I think that's what I wanted to show you. If you have questions, write in Slack that you are present here, can come up to me. Otherwise, I just want to close off by saying that you can reach me again, and then stay secure in code and life. Thank you.